Okay. Thanks everyone for coming. My dad is very skeptical about Bitcoin. Ever since I got into Bitcoin, he's been convincing me to sell. He used to say the government will never allow Bitcoin to succeed because the government will never give up the power to issue money and so on. And I was so happy when we had the first US president that endorsed Bitcoin. But then after that, my dad moved on to another concern, which is quantum computing will destroy Bitcoin. When he said that, I say to him, if quantum computer is invented, your internet banking is going to be stopped working. Your the nuclear facilities will get hacked. The secret services will get hacked. There will be bigger problems to worry about than Bitcoin. That's enough to silence him. But deep in my heart, I know that's a very lazy answer because like BlackRock, when they listed the ETF, they actually put quantum computer as a threat for Bitcoin as well. So this is a serious issue. So if I really care about Bitcoin, I should put in the time to understand what quantum computing is, what's its current state, and how does it affect Bitcoin. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So for those that don't know, quantum computer is just a supercomputer that uses the characteristics of quantum mechanics. And it can compute certain problems really, really fast. For example, last year in December, Google announced their Willow quantum computer can do like a standard computation in 5 minutes, whereas it takes the fastest like classical computer 10 septillion years to do. 10 septillion years is like 10 with 25 zeros behind it. It's longer than the age of the universe. And this only takes 5 minutes for the quantum computer to do. So this is how fast quantum computer can compute. So why quantum computer can compute so fast? That's because it uses 3 characteristics of quantum computing: the superposition, the quantum entanglement, and the interference. Can you please click? Yeah. So for superposition, like you can imagine, like for the classical computers, it uses binary bits, which is 1 and 0s, to indicate the on and off state of the current. Whereas, so you can imagine it as like a coin with it's either showing a head or showing a tail. Whereas for quantum computer, it uses qubits. It can be like 1 then 0 and 1 or 0 at the same time. It's like a coin spinning in the air. It's neither a head or a tail. So why is this and why is this helps quantum computer to compute faster? So imagine if you have a lock and the key to the lock is a 3-digit binary number. So in total, there are like 8 combinations. With a classical computer, you need to go through these combinations one by one. And on average, it takes you 4 times to find the right key, because that's just half of the 8 total possibilities. Whereas with quantum computer, like if you have 3 qubits, you can represent the 8, you can represent all of the possibilities all at once. But that doesn't mean you can find the answer immediately. So at this point, you just have to believe me. So it takes like square root of n operations to find the answer. That is a quadratic speed up from the classical computer, and that is for the non-structured problems. That's only a quadratic speed up. By non-structured problems, I mean if the probability for each answer is the same. So each answer has the same probabilities of being the correct answer, then there's only a quadratic speed up. Whereas like if the answer is more structured, for example, if it's elliptic curve, like the ones we use for Bitcoin's cryptography, the speed up is much higher. So yeah, so this is a superposition, how it helps quantum computers to compute. And move on to the next one, which is entanglement. Entanglement basically is like 2 particles. They are having some sort of intrinsic link with each other. So if you move one particle, and the other particle will receive the information immediately and move accordingly, and so on. And Einstein called this spooky action at a distance, which means information can be transferred immediately, no matter how far these two particles are apart. And so in the sense for quantum computing, why entanglement is important is because for the physical qubits, they are very, very fragile. So they can be easily affected by heat or like vibrations or some like some magnetic waves or whatever. So these things can affect the qubits and make it lose its quantum position. And lose the quantum information. So if we only rely on one physical qubit to hold on to one piece of quantum information, like little errors can cause it to lose the information, and we won't realize this until the computation goes too far ahead and like it's too late. So with entanglement, we could entangle a group of physical qubits together and form a logical qubit. And within the logical qubit, so the logical qubit is acting as one system. It's only trying to hold on to one piece of quantum information. So if within this logical qubit, if there's one physical qubit, it's sort of like got corrupted, or in the actual term called became decoherent, then the other physical qubits will try to correct it, so the quantum information can still be preserved. So this logical qubits is a very, very important concept, because that's a building block of a fault-tolerant quantum computer, which is a type of quantum computer that's needed to crack Bitcoin's cryptography. And so the logical qubits is like different physical qubits entangled together, but different logical qubits can entangle together as well, and that can help us to do the computation. For example, if we want to compute Shor's algorithm, which is the algorithm that will be that we have to run to crack Bitcoin's cryptography, we need to have a large number of logical qubits entangled together to create an input register. And this input register will pass the quantum circuit, which is a series of quantum gates, which they are like manipulating the logical qubits, and then the results will be projected onto the output register, which is another group of logical qubits entangled together. And also the input register and output register are entangled together as well. So it's getting complicated very, very fast. So basically, entanglement helps the computation of the quantum computer. And the third characteristics of quantum computer is interference. When you hear about interference, mostly you may think about waves, especially like the interference of the radio waves and so on. So in the classical world, things are either made of particles or waves. Like the table is made of particles and the sound is made of waves. But in the quantum world, things can be both particle and wave at the same time. This is called wave-particle duality. And the most famous experiment is the double slit experiment, when you fire beams of electrons past these two slits. If you don't observe them, then they will form an interference pattern at the back. It's like these electrons, they are going through two slits at the same time. But if you do observe them, you'll collapse the probability wave, and then they will just form two clusters on the screen at the back. So this shows the particle wave duality. And how is this helping the quantum computer? So when the qubits are entangled, the whole thing represents a probability wave. One point on the probability wave, the result is 90% of 1 and 10% 0. As another point on the probability wave is 50% 1 and 50% 0, and so on. And then the interference helps you to amplify the correct answer, and sort of cancel out the incorrect answer. So imagine you are standing in front of a pond, and then you throw a rock into the pond, and it creates some waves. And the waves travel towards the middle of the pond, and then they hit a rock and reflect back. And some waves get cancelled out, and some waves get amplified. This is the same concept as what the quantum computer does, except there's no physical rock. But they have like a intangible rock called the quantum Fourier transform. And that helps to cancel out the wrong answers and amplify the correct answers. So at the end, when you observe the results, you have a very high possibility of getting the correct answer. That's like if we go back to what we showed before on like the 8 possibilities of finding the keys for the lock. Although the 8 possibilities can be shown simultaneously by 3 qubits, but if you observe them immediately, it will not give you the correct answer because it will just collapse into one random answer. It's like the Schrodinger. Feel free to take a seat. Maybe here. It's like Schrodinger's cat. The cat is in a box and with some like poison that will be released at random time. Like if you don't open the box, the cat is both alive and dead. But when you open the box, the cat get collapsed. The cat's status get collapsed into one reality, which is either live or dead. Which is the same. Like it's in a quantum state. If you observe it, it will just collapse. But because before we observe it, now we use interference to amplify the correct answer and to cancel out the incorrect answer. So when you observe it, it will have the very high probability of showing the right answer instead of just a random one. And then these are the 3 characteristics of quantum computing and why it can be compute so fast. But the quantum computer cannot do everything. It's only good for certain types of computations. And CPUs, GPUs, and QPUs will coexist. Because like quantum computer, it's there are different types of quantum computers, but in many modalities, it has to be in very, very like cold places, like in almost absolute 0 degrees, and also it's have to be like very sensitive and so on to no vibration, no like magnetic wave, etc. So it's not it cannot replace your computer at home, and also for example, also for certain type of calculation, the speed up is very limited. For example, like the non-structured answers, when it has to try the things like with equal number of possibilities of being the correct answer, the speed up is very limited. So whereas, for example, like the Bitcoin miners, it's just built to do that work. So it may be even better than the quantum computer on that type of calculation. So quantum computer cannot do everything, but it's good for some things. And in the future might be like the AI can determine like which part of the problem they will send to a quantum computer to solve, and which parts they will send to a QPU, and which part they will send to a GPU, and at the end the AI can maybe collate everything together and give you an answer. Next. So what does a quantum computer look like? If you Google the image of a quantum computer, most likely you will see something like this with lots of wires. But this is only the outside of a quantum computer. These wires are like trying to transmit the signals and also trying to cool the chip and so on. But the inside of the actual quantum chip is very, very small. It can be put onto your hand like this. So this is a Google's Willow quantum chip. So it's very, very small. Next one. So this is someone from Anion quantum computer showing how they assemble the quantum computer together. So the chip is inside this cylinder there, and this cylinder is made of superconductors to block electromagnetic signals. And then there's many other cylinders on top of that cylinder because it's like a Russian door. Um, because say for example the second one is for to blocking the external magnetic field, and third one is to block the external infrared radiation, and so on, and the last one is to create a vacuum chamber, so that the inside is in high vacuum to make sure the quantum computer chip is in the coldest place and also the quietest place on this earth, to prevent it from being corrupted. Next one. There's different type of quantum computers. The one I just showed is a superconductor quantum computer, and this one is a photonic quantum computer, and this is what it look like. So it can look very differently, and there's many different quantum computers. So there's the main modalities are like the neutral atom, superconductor, trapped ion, photonic. I would say these four are the most common ones. And most of the big companies, they are working on the superconductor modality, like Google, IBM, Amazon, etc. They are all working on the superconductor modality. And the neutral atom modality, which is so similar to superconductor and trapped ion, like this one, I think currently it's the how to say it achieved the highest number of logical qubits, because this company Atom Computing, they have made a quantum computer like they are in collaboration with Microsoft, and they created this 24 logical qubits quantum computer last year, and this year they are open for customers to order 50 logical qubits quantum computers already, although they haven't delivered it yet. And the government of Denmark is one of their clients that's signed up to this 50 logical qubits quantum computer. And also, like there's photonic quantum computer, and this one the advantage is it can operate at room temperature, whereas the other ones it all have to operate at near absolute zeros, like in millikelvin temperature level. And also, yeah, so the superconductor one, its speed is very fast, and photonic is very fast. Yeah, so they all, each modality, currently there's no clear winner on what is the best modality, and each modality has its advantages and disadvantages. Currently, they are all like trying to solve their own problems, and it's all like progressing, but we can't tell there will be which one will be the clear winner in the future. Next one. And so many companies and governments are already working on post-quantum algorithms, and like by incorporating the post-quantum algorithms, like Google, Apple, Microsoft as well, and Signal and Cloudflare, they have all migrated to post-quantum cryptography. And also governments have plans to, like the UK and US governments all plan to migrate to post-quantum cryptography, and the US has decided to disallow the ECDSA by 2035. Yeah, and deprecated by 2030, and so on. So the governments and companies, they are all taking actions. So what does this mean for Bitcoin? So Bitcoin is built on two pillars of cryptography: the public key cryptography and also the cryptographic hashing, the SHA-256. So for the public key cryptography, it's like proof of ownership. It's proof that to sign the transaction and prove you own these coins, and it's using the yeah. So basically, it's like if you have a public key and you create a digital signature. Sorry, you have a private key, you create a digital signature, and it's very easy to verify the digital signature using a public key. But if you have the public key and you want to reverse engineer to create a private key, it's extremely hard. This is called a one-way function. For example, like if I tell you there is a number which is 1143, and can anyone tell me which two prime number times multiply together to get 1143? Okay, no one can tell me. But if I tell you 31 and 37 multiplied together can get 1143, it's very easy for you to verify. So this is like the similar idea. So this is a one-way function. And for Bitcoin, it's public key cryptography mainly is the ECDSA and Schnorr. The ECDSA is the elliptic curve digital signature. It has been with Bitcoin since the inception, whereas Schnorr was introduced in 2021 together with Taproot. So both of them are based on the elliptic curve. And this can be cracked by if some quantum computer running Shor's algorithm. And with current research it's in the thousands of logical qubits, it can run Shor's algorithm to crack the elliptic curve cryptography. Another one is the SHA-256 for the hashing. So this one can be, so a quantum computer can run Grover's algorithm to speed up the solving of the SHA-256. But because it's a non-structured problem, so there's only a quadratic speed up. So it's equivalent to making SHA-256 a SHA-128. So the speed, so like even a quantum computer can run Grover's algorithm. It's very hard for it to break SHA-256. And the quantum advantage, actually is much, much smaller. So for the mining parts, we are not worried because the SHA-256 is relatively secure. And also the like for using SHA-256 in like signature scheme and stuff, it's safe. The things we should be focused on is a public key cryptography, which is elliptic curve cryptography. That's a problem we need to solve and for now. So basically, there are different types of attacks for Bitcoin. There's long-range attacks and short-range attacks. So for long-range attack, it means the quantum attacker can have as much time as they need to do the computation in the background and attack Bitcoin, whereas short-range attack is they only have a short period of time, which I'll talk later. So for long-range attacks, the main target is addresses previously exposed their public keys. So there could be different ways addresses could have exposed their public keys. And the first one is address reuse, and this accounts for 4.5 million Bitcoins. And in total, the long-range attacks, there's 6 million Bitcoins at risk. So address reuse is accountable for a large portion of that. So for address reuses, like if you look at the top 100 rich list for Bitcoin, and you look at like when was the last transaction out, and so which indicates whether they have reused their addresses, and basically all the top addresses have address reuses. And the most guilty is Binance, and the second one is Robinhood, and third one is Bitfinex, and the next one is Binance, and so on. Basically, all the big exchanges and wallets, they all do address reuses. And then in that way, they expose their public key. Because when you make a Bitcoin transaction, you have to publicize your public key in the transaction. And many people think, if there's a quantum attack, Satoshi's coin will be the first to be stolen, which may not be true because economically, like Satoshi's Bitcoin, only 50 Bitcoin per address. So it would take the quantum attacker the same amount of effort to steal 50 bitcoins from Satoshi as stole, like, for example, 250,000 bitcoins from Binance. So, like, in my opinion, if the quantum attacker is mostly for economic reasons, the first address they will attack is this Binance address.
But the older Satoshi coins are in a different format where it's
Yeah.
pay to access.
P2PK, yeah. Yeah.
It's easier.
No, it's still public. They need to figure out the private key from the public key.
Right.
Yeah, it's the same.
At least it's not
But this one, you can see the public key in the transactions. So yeah. So because they reuse the address, so you can see it from the previous transactions. So the information the quantum attacker know is the same. It's a public key. Yeah.
Good question. What about Taproot addresses? Because I heard that's a little bit Segwit is better and Taproot goes a little bit more down.
Yeah, I'm going to that later for the different scripts, vulnerable scripts. Yeah, so this is the first type of target for the long-range attack, which is address reuses. There are other ways you could have exposed your public keys if you click, which is goes to your one, the different vulnerable script types, and so the first one is P2PK, which is Satoshi era Bitcoin, and there's only 50 Bitcoin on each address, and that's in total there's 1.7 million Bitcoins on this. And there's pay to multisig, which is the old multisig script, and there's also pay to Taproot, as you said, 147,000 Bitcoin. For the Taproot, it's like there's a script pass and key pass. So if they use if they use the script pass, then it's expose the public key. Is that right? Or if they use the key pass, one of them. Also, like you could have exposed your public keys on a UTXO on a fork. For example, if you own Bitcoin before the Bitcoin hash fork, and then you didn't move your Bitcoin, but you moved your Bitcoin cash, for example, if you sold your Bitcoin cash, you would have exposed your public key there. And then that means your Bitcoin's public key is also exposed, and that means it's also not safe. And also, if you shared your XPub with other people like wallet providers or exchanges or payment processors, yeah, you're basically also means you expose your public keys. And recently, I had to share my public keys with like a accounting software for Bitcoin, and that means they could work out my public keys. So that means it's also not safe. But this means that the industry needs to change. Like these softwares need to not require XPubs, and there are yeah, the industry needs to work out a solution for this basically. The next one. And also for short range attacks, basically the target is everyone. So because when you make a Bitcoin transaction, you have to reveal your public key in the transaction you broadcast. So between you broadcast your transaction to the transaction is actually mined, there could be a short window of opportunity for the quantum attacker to quickly see what your public key is and work out what your private key is from the public key, and then make up another transaction that's to spend your coin, and they can maybe pay a higher fee, so their transaction get mined first, so your coin is sent to them. So this is called short range attack, but this one is how to say, just a quantum computer need to have a lot more computing power than doing the long range attack, because for long range attack they can take as much time as they want, and then they publish what their results. The next one. And there could be other implications if the elliptic curve cryptography is broken, because many other things also rely on elliptic curve cryptography. For example, the SSL, TLS protocols, which is the technology that ensures the HTTP connections is secure. So there could be like man-in-the-middle attack, like you enter an URL of an exchange, and then the page website shows up, and you enter your username and password onto that web page, and you thought that's a legitimate exchange website, but actually, because your internet connection is no longer secure, it could be a fake website, and they could collect your username and password and spend your Bitcoin. So yeah, if elliptic curve cryptographies are broken, this could also be a thing to worry about. And then, so some Bitcoiners has already started to think about and work on post-quantum solutions. There are two beeps at the moment, so beep 347 and beep 360. There are many others. They are still thinking about it and working on it. It hasn't formed into a beep yet. So for the beep 347, it's opcat in transcript, TypeScript. Yeah. So opcat basically means a concatenation command in the Bitcoin script. That concatenation is like adding things together, and this was initially in the Bitcoin script when Bitcoin was invented, but it was removed by Satoshi in 2010. This BIP is proposing to reintroduce that concatenation command so that it can enable Lamport signature. And Lamport signature is a signature based on the hash. So it doesn't use elliptic curve, it uses the hashing function, so it's more secure. And it is a one-time use signature scheme. And so basically this is how it works. Don't be intimidated by the complex graph. So basically, like if you want to send the message, like Alice sent a message to Bob, and then you use SHA-256 to hash the message, which will result in a 256-bit long message, which is represented in ones and zeros. 250, so there's 256 digits of one and zeros. So that's the message after the hashing. And in order to sign this message, what Lamport signature does is it signs the message bit by bit. So it creates two sets of two sets. It creates two sets of public keys and two sets of private keys. For example, like this public key set is only for signing if the value is zero. This this private key set is only for signing if the value is zero. This set is only for signing if the value is one. For example, if this one is a zero, then you use this private key set to sign for it. And this is zero, you also use this private key set to sign this. And this is a one, you use a second, so you use the second set to sign for this digit, and so on. So you essentially need to have 512 private keys and 512 private keys to sign a 256 digits message. And when you want to verify the signature, so your signature basically is just this 256 times 256 bits of information added together. And so it's very long, the signature. The signature is about 8 KB for each signature. It's very big. That's the main problems of Lamport signature. And when you want to verify the signature, you just hash for each one, and then like add them together and compare to the private key, compare with the public key set. That's how you verify. Yeah, so that's the Lamport signature. And there's another BIP 360, proposed by Hunter Beast, pay to quantum resistant hash. So this one, it's basically proposed a hybrid signature approach using Schnorr and one of the NIST approved quantum resistant algorithms. So, and it will be a soft fork from Segwit version 3. And the address will start with BC1R, and public key will not be exposed, only the hash of the public key. So it's, I think it's, so for taproots, it has the key path and the script path. Unfortunately, I can't remember which one is a problem, but this one only use the ones that's not a problem. The script path, yeah, only use the script path. Yeah, so that's a big 360. And also there are other people working on the post-quantum solutions. Recently, there was a Bitcoin Quantum Summit in the States, and many Bitcoin developers are there and presented their work. And one of them is Taj, who is the inventor, co-inventor of Bitcoin Lightning. And he has proposed a commit reveal. Basically, what it means is like before you make a Bitcoin transaction, you first commit to that transaction. What does he mean by commit? Is you put in the opcats, the operator that's the hash of the public key and the transaction ID. You put the hash of the public key and transaction ID in the op return somehow, maybe by contacting a miner, or maybe there will be such services to help people to put all this information together in the op return. And then when you make the actual transactions, the Bitcoin will compare the hash of the public key and your transaction ID to see, has it appeared in the op return before? It will only approve the transaction if it has appeared before. So in that way, like if the quantum attacker saw your public key when you make a transaction, it will be too late for them to put something in the op return to create another transaction. Yeah, exactly. You make announcement of your transaction first. Yeah. And basically for the quantum attacker, when they saw the actual thing, it will be too late for them to make announcement for their attacking transaction. So that's the commit reveal. And also another guy, Olalu, which is roast beef. His nickname is roast beef, and he proposed the Sphinx Plus, which is a hash-based signature like Lamport signature. So it only uses the SHA-256, but it's an improved version of the Lamport signature. So remember, for Lamport signature, the signature is so huge. You need 200. So you need like basically 512 public keys and so on. But he proposed they put all these they put all the signatures into a Merkle tree, and when you verify, you only need to prove that your signature is in this Merkle tree. You don't need to publish all these like public keys and so on. And also another advantage is this is not a one-time use address, one-time use signature. Whereas for Lamport signature, I forgot to mention, it's a one-time use signature because there's like one, because if you signed once, for example, the first digit is a 0, people know how to use your signature to sign a first digit 0. So you have to discard your signature after one time use. Whereas this one, you can use up to like millions of times and it's still safe. So this is an improvement on the Lamport signature. So yeah, so smart people are working on this problem, and but at the moment it's still at a very early stage. Yeah, and I would encourage all of you to think about the problem and will maybe work on it as well. Yeah.
I would just use, so for normal on-chain transactions, one-time signature is actually a big issue, right? Because you should not reuse your address anyway, right? So one-time signature is fine. The problem sign the same
Mm.
address or shared address multiple times,
Mm.
then you need multiple.
Yeah.
You just give it like strings plus, where you can have multiple signatures.
Yeah. Yeah, true. But also another thing for the Lamport signature is the public key is too big. It's 520. Sorry, 500. Yeah, 8K. Yeah. Where this one they only need to publish the Merkle link.
So essentially, the quantum resistant solutions are going back to using hashes for signatures and,
Yeah.
and no more encryption. It's all hash. Because hash is a lossy function and you cannot go back. You need to use brute force, what you thought, right?
Yeah.
So they kind of realize it doesn't matter what complexity of encryption and how many bits they're going to use for the keys. Quantum computers with more logical qubits are going to eventually manage to break it. So they're just reverting to hashes, and it's going to be hashes.
Yeah, hashes. So hashes is one of the solutions people are looking into, like Lamport signature, and this one, the strings, is based on hashes. But if you go back to the BIP 360, it's like using Schnorr plus one of the quantum resistant algorithms. So these are not like the Sphinx here is hashes, but these two, I'm actually not too sure about the first two. Yeah, whether they are hashes or not. Yeah.
It seems like they're going to make the quantum computer do a brute force.
Yeah. Yeah. So hashes is more secure than the. Mhm. Mhm. Okay, move on. So apart from the like the quantum resistant algorithms and also like basically like all the quantum resistant algorithms, the BIP 347, the 360, and the TAG and the roast beef's proposal is only for protecting your Bitcoin that you haven't revealed your public keys. Basically, it's like for the future. Like when you make a transaction, how do you protect your Bitcoin? However, there's a more sort of a burning problem, which is like, for example, people have already revealed their public keys, like the Satoshi era coins, the P2PK coins, and so on. And also there is a basically for the P2P, especially for the P2PK coins, they are very old and they haven't moved for a long time. And even if we gave them time to migrate, and they may not move. So in that case, people are discussing, there's some philosophical discussions on what to do with them if they don't move in time. So some people proposing a burn. This is represented by Jameson Lopp, and basically he thinks we should treat the quantum threat as a protocol level, like a bug. We should burn these coins, but give them a way to like recover if they can show some proof, but this is extremely hard, especially for the P2PK, because there's nothing they can prove. At that time there's no seed words, there's no XPub, etc. So there's no other proof they can prove. But for the non-P2PK coins that have revealed their public keys, they could potentially provide some zero knowledge proofs of their seed words and so on to prove they are the actual owner. So that's the burn camp. There's also the steal camp, which is do nothing, like and we don't need to do anything, and because whoever owns the private key should be the owner. If it's a quantum computer owns the private key, then they should be the owner. And also, like initially, I was in this camp as well. I thought, okay, so if for example, if someone is in prison, for example, like God forbid that Satoshi is not in prison, but in some cases, Satoshi is in a place that he's not able to move his coin, and if we like burned his coin before quantum computer even steal it, and he is later on he is able to move the coin, and his coin is already locked or burnt, he would be pretty pissed off. So we should just do nothing and then let the quantum computer do its course. If the coin is stolen, then it's too bad for the owner. But if it hasn't been stolen, then the owner can still have the chance to move it, and the coins are not like locked by the developers.
How do you burn?
You just prevent them from being able to spend. You just don't let the P2PK coin to be able to spend.
So you take the public key and you put that public key.
No, you just say any block that spans from a vulnerable address to another block.
Yeah, so you put that in the code. Yeah. The actual public key you put in the code, and
you put the public key in the code. You just say anybody who spends from this day on from a public key vulnerable address.
Right.
Yeah. And then there's also recently there's another proposal which is called Hourglass, and that's sort of like a more mild approach. So it has version 1, version 2. The version 1 is suggesting restricting to 1 UTXO per P2PK P2PK UTXO per block. So the Satoshi era Bitcoins can still move, but it will move at a much slower pace. That's preventing, like, say if the quantum computer worked out the Satoshi's wallets, and they can't like dump everything all onto the market. They have to only like move 1 UTXO at a time. And then they have the version 2, which is like moving 1 Bitcoin per block from all of the vulnerable addresses. That include anyone who have revealed their public keys. And also, like, you can't pay the miner more than what you receive. So that's to prevent people from like competing each other to pay the miner a huge fee to speed up their transaction. So you can maximum pay the miner 1 Bitcoin as well. And inventor is claiming that this will solve the tail emission problem as well. Like, so people were worrying about like later on the mining reward will be too small for the miners, and so this will give the miners like some more reward basically, and it can last 60 years.
Isn't that assuming that there's 2 different quantum attackers? If only one person has a powerful computer, then in V2 or V1 they won't need to pay fees.
Yeah, so if there's only no one's competing, they don't need to pay. Yeah. And also this the inventor of this is claiming that, so imagine like if Satoshi is still there and is able to move his coins, like if we implement something like the burn, then Satoshi, it will spook Satoshi. Satoshi will, before the quantum computer, Satoshi will move his coin himself, which is the thing we didn't want. Whereas like if we have the hourglass option, like Satoshi would know, okay, he is still able to move his coin if he wants to. So maybe he won't like be spooked and move his coin. So that's what they are thinking as well. So this is this philosophical, yeah. We are all the community, so maybe we can have a show of hands who supports the burn. Anyone support the burn? Anyone support the steel? Okay. Anyone support the hourglass? Okay, I can see people support both steel and hourglass at the same time. It's in a superposition. Yeah. So yeah, so mostly I think people support the steel and hourglass, and, which makes more sense. I think the burn doesn't make much sense, especially the P2PK transactions. You can't prove that you actually is the owner. Next one. So are we too late to this? So in order for us to implement anything in the Bitcoin community, first there needs to be research and there needs to be debate, people talking about the pros and cons and whether that will break something else, like whether it will break Lightning or break some other things. And then after people reach some agreements, then there will be implementation. People need to put this into code and then check the code, etc. And then after that, people need to migrate the vulnerable coins onto this uh, onto this quantum proof algorithm. Not even vulnerable coins, but everyone needs to migrate to the quantum proof algorithm. So this will take a long time. Like if we dedicate all of the block space to move this, it will take several months, but more likely it will take like 2-3 years for all the coins to move to the quantum proof algorithm. So this, like even the migration alone will take some time. So say if the quantum computer is coming in 3 years time, then we are already too late. But if the quantum computer is coming in 5 years time, then we need to minus 3 years for the migration. So basically everything needs to be ready in 2 years. Yeah, next one. So based on Chencode Lab's report, basically Chencode Lab published a report about 3 months ago. So thanks to them, lots of this presentation, I got information from their reports. They think in 2 to 3 years, we should have a short-term contingency measure, and in 7 years, we should have a long-term measure. Basically, in their 2 to 3 year short-term contingency measure, they propose the research plus BIP takes half a year, and it already 4 months has passed. We haven't reached any agreements on what to do. So I'm kind of doubt whether in 2 to 3 years we will be able to have a short-term contingency measure. Yeah, so we really need to speed up everything. And in terms of the roadmaps of quantum computing companies, I looked into what I can find. Basically, these are the quantum computing companies that I can find the information for in terms of their roadmap. And IonQ, like they are proposing to have like 800 logical qubits by 2027 and like 80,000 by 2030, which is a very, very ambitious roadmap. And it's not really matching with all the other quantum computing companies. So we should take this as a grain of salt. But also, like if this in the unlikely event this happens, then Bitcoin is good. So we should, although we should take it with a grain of salt, but we should also feel the urgency to do something as well. And for Google and IBM, they are more similar. They have more similar roadmap. So by 2030, they will have like 1,000 plus logical qubits. And to run Shor's algorithm and break Bitcoin's cryptography, we need a few thousand logical qubits. So yeah, based on that roadmap, by early 2030, they will be able to do that. And Atom Computing, which is a company that is most advanced in terms of the number of logical qubits at the moment. They predict by 2030 they will have a commercially viable quantum computer for the HPC center. By commercially viable, they don't mean it can compute very fast. They also mean it can be like economically more favorable for people to use as well. So it's not only fast, but also cheaper than the current supercomputers. And they will have this by 2030. They didn't mention how many logical qubits they will have, but like say this year, they will have the 50 logical qubits. And also, I think this thing can like grow really fast because there's an analogy of the lilies in a pond. If the lily doubles every day, and if the 30th day, it will cover the whole pond. When it covers half of the pond, it's the 29th day. So at the end, it will be really, really fast. And if we wait until the end, we might be too late. Yes, so yeah, so that's the roadmaps of the quantum computing companies. Next one. And what can you do now? So as a Bitcoin user, first of all, don't reuse addresses. although this is reuse address is hard for normal people to do anyway, because normally the hardware wallets will generate new addresses for you, but sometimes I have the experience that I generate a new address, I send an invoice to someone, they haven't paid, then I want to have another invoice, then the hardware wallet doesn't regenerate the address. It's the same address. And then, like, say, for example, if one person paid me first, then I spend on that, and then another person puts the money in. In that case, I will be reusing that address. But it's not very easy for people to do. But in some situations, you could be reuse your addresses. So the first thing is don't reuse your addresses, and then don't share your XPubs, and then don't use Taproot key pass. Yes, so the key pass is a problem. The script pass is fine. And remember to migrate your coins when the quantum resistant solutions are implemented. So for a normal user, you should do this. And but more importantly, next one. More importantly, so educate yourself about quantum computers and keep yourself up to date about the development of quantum computers and quantum solutions in Bitcoin. And also join the discussions. Also, like for non-developers like me, I can't participate in the discussions of the quantum algorithms, but I think we can all participate in the philosophical discussions. For example, the burn versus the steel versus hourglass, so on. And we should all raise awareness around us, around this, for this as well. And also contribute to the solutions if you can. If you are a developer, I really hope you can you can be more interested in this topic after hearing this talk, and go back and do some more research and maybe join force in creating some solutions for Bitcoin. And then also inspire others to contribute as well. Like if you're a content creator, maybe you can do some content around these topics to inspire more people to contribute and join the discussion and so on. So that's it. And we are all Satoshis.